Hey guys, Fear Addict here. I've just released a book. I'm Under Your Bed is now available for purchase from Lulu.com. Check the link in the description below to pick up a copy. If you'd rather have a digital copy, you can obtain a PDF version of the book by signing up for my Patreon as a reader for just $1. Enough of my plugging, and on to tonight's story. I still loved you. These were the words I found written in lipstick on my bathroom mirror moments before I found what was left of my ex-girlfriend. Her pale body was still as porcelain as the day we met, its only flaw being the two thin lines she'd carved into her wrists. She had, apparently, pulled the curtain to the bathtub only as an afterthought, evidenced by the bloodstain trickling down the side of it. A cheap plastic divider that had grown thin and filthy with the years had been the last thing she'd touched. Grief is a funny thing. It hits you in waves. After the initial shock of seeing her there, in a moment where one would expect to cry or scream, all I could do was stare. It was like a state of emotional catatonia. My mind kept functioning on a purely logical basis. The gray matter would only accept and process simple commands that related to solving the anomaly before me. Girlfriend dead. Okay. Call the cops. Okay. Done. Wash your hands. Good. Done. Sit down. Wait. Good dog. The scene was so obviously a suicide attempt that, naturally, the police suspected me of foul play. Everything was just too perfect. They questioned me for several hours, but apparently didn't have grounds to arrest me. They said they'd contact her family and continue to investigate. As my apartment was now a crime scene, they advised me to get a hotel room somewhere in town and stay put. My mind handled this with the same rigid, unforgiving clarity it had before, but some of the gears were starting to come loose in my mind, both from the physical exhaustion and the creeping onset of emotional trauma. I don't remember how I got to the hotel room. My brain had apparently turned off my short-term memory in order to focus all of its remaining energy on completing the task before it. I checked in, my brain checked out, and with it all the cognitive safeguards that had been holding me together for the past 8 hours. The second my door shut, I fell to the floor in a heap. I couldn't even make it the 4 feet to my bed. I just lay there, sobbing into my hands as the sorrow and guilt enveloped me in a suffocating miasma of psychological agony. I think I might have killed myself that night. I certainly came close. I didn't own a gun or really any method capable of quickly and relatively painlessly ending my life. But the hotel had complimentary razors. I could go out the way she went out. It would certainly be poetic. Like Romeo and Juliet, if their last words to each other had been a verbal orgy of swears and professions of hatred for each other. She said things she didn't mean. I'd said things that I meant but had successfully repressed up to that point. To her credit, she wanted things to continue and was willing to let even the cruel things I'd said to her go. But the damage was done. I didn't love her anymore. Yet, apparently, she still loved me. I just never thought she'd go to such lengths to make that point. I opened the bathroom door and a phantom of the scene from earlier flashed before me. The same drawn curtain, the shadowy outline of my ex's corpse, and the same message upon the mirror. It was only an instant, brought on by sleep deprivation and my obvious trauma. I closed my eyes and opened them again. The shadow vanished. The curtain was open. The ominous final message was scrubbed clean from my mirror. I laid down in the tub and turned on the water. The frigid liquid didn't even faze me. My legs broke out in goosebumps, but I couldn't bring myself to respond. Fidgeting with the razor in my hand, I considered suicide for a final moment before setting it aside and remembering all the lovely platitudes that I'd heard over the years, ancient truisms that talked me out of what would have been a gruesome and pointless end. Besides, there would be plenty of time to change my mind later if I needed. The goosebumps continued to form on my leg, growing thicker and somehow firmer. The light bulbs flickered, and I was having that same phantom vision again. Only this time, the shadow was much smaller, just the upper half of her face. Her long, black hair tangled and drenched as she stared at me from inside the bathwater. The grotesque visage lasted only a moment, but the clarity was undeniable. The bulb flashed again, and she appeared once more, closer, but still just the top of her head. When the light returned, I hopped out of the bathtub in a panic and tried to convince myself that it was all just from the stress. And yet, while the shadow had gone, the message remained, still stained on my new bathroom mirror. A sudden clarity overtook me then, and it served as a stern reminder plastered on every mirror I've passed since. Every reflective surface bears the message she left before her end, and every time the lights go out, no matter how briefly, I see her rotting figure peeking at me from around a corner, underneath a bed, outside my window, or somewhere just within my peripheral vision. But I understand now. My girlfriend had loved me, but she doesn't anymore.